Show. It's the real Chat Daddy Show. It's the real Chat Daddy Show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Real Chat Daddy Show. Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tuesday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. I am your host, Art Chat Daddy Sims. Glad to be here with you guys this evening on a beautiful Tuesday evening here in the Chicagoland area. Temperatures are almost up to 60 degrees. Tomorrow, Wednesday, they're expecting it to reach over 60 degrees. Just weird weather for February, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Happy Black History Month, as well as Happy Heart Health Month. Tonight on the show is my very special guest co-host, the one and only Miss Sharon Rowe. She's an author, blogger, motivational speaker, actually a mental health worker like you would not believe. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the author of the book Greatness is a Choice, the one and only Miss Sharon Rowe. Hey Sharon, how are you? Good evening.
Hi Art, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you this evening? You have on red. You look beautiful. And how's everything in your world this evening?
You know what? Everything in my world is wonderful and great today. So
good.
I really appreciate you asking me that. And I'm so excited to be here.
Wonderful. Sharon, if you could tell everybody a little bit about your background, and later on, we're going to talk about why it is so important that people take care of their hearts, and we're trying to encourage families to do that. But tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, and then we'll get into the rest of you a little later in the show.
Okay, well, basically, I would like to say I'm an overall social worker. I've been in social work for the last 29 years. I graduated in 1995. I graduated from Western Illinois University. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. Then I went away to Spartus University, and I have a master's in science and human service administration. And then also, I have a minor which focused on management and also HR. So over the last this would be year 29, I have been working in the human services field. When I went to Spartus, my master's focused on human service administration, working with nonprofits. And I have been working with nonprofits over 17 years. And then the last 10 years, I worked at a major MCO, and with that MCO, got to learn a lot about health and health preventative measures, and that's basically been my experience. And then after that, I had 1 year. I worked at Cook County, and it was during the pandemic. So I think overall, those 29 years is all in health and human services.
Very good. Wonderful, wonderful. And I can't wait to talk to you tonight about why we're talking about the importance of heart health, your backstory in heart health, and all that great stuff. Well, glad to have you here tonight. Want to do a couple of hot topic things if we could. We're waiting on our third guest to join us eventually in the show. We want to send a shout out to congratulations to the one and only Miss Vanessa Williams. As you guys all know, Vanessa Williams has always been a superstar in my book. Sharon, I'm sure you feel the same about Vanessa Williams. What are some of your fondest memories of Vanessa Williams?
Wow. You know what? I think she's an icon, first to start off, because again, she's a beautiful person inside and out. She's multi-talented.
Yes, she is.
Sing, she can act. And then also I like the part about she gave a realness. She wasn't afraid of her story and how she used her trials to be a triumph. And I really like that, because that shows realness. No matter whether we all have trials, to make a long story short, which I think it parlays to exactly what we're dealing with. I like that transparency, if that makes anything. So I'm just really excited for her, because I really believe she is multi-talented.
Well, Sharon, it looks like you and I will be booking a trip to London because it
Ooh.
has been announced that Vanessa Williams will play Miranda Priestley in the West End adaptation of The Devil Wears Prada with music from Elton John in London. In London. So, in order for us to go see the Dynamo, Vanessa Williams, we'd have to go all the way to London to be able to see her. But I'm a theater buff. I love all things that is the arts. And so I think I would kind of go over to London to see Vanessa in the play. What do you think?
You know what? I think she would be the perfect person for that because she definitely has an eye for fashion. And when, if you remember when she did that show, I just thought she just played that role just way too well. You know, she really
Right.
knocked it out the park. So I think
Yeah.
she would be the perfect person to play that role. That's just my opinion.
I do too. I agree. I love Vanessa Williams. I think, a lot of wonderful things. As you said, she pivoted from a lot of challenges that she had in her life. She's not let anything hold her back. Vanessa is considered a seasoned woman in this day and age, and her season has yet to come. You know what I'm saying? Even though she's a seasoned woman, her season is yet to come. So we do wish her well.
And you know what I really like about her too? She moves forward.
Right, right. What do you think is the reason why, being in the field of social work, what do you think is the reason why people are oftentimes stuck?
Well, you know what? I think sometimes they have arrested development. And what I mean by that is something has happened. Usually, I think one of those prompts is a death or something happened where they can't move forward. Sometimes it's a lack of forgiveness. It could be many, many issues. However, we have to learn to move forward. We have to accept the present. Everybody is not going to go with you. And I think that's a challenging thing because when we come to these crossroads, it could be your child, it could be your mother, it could be your father, it could be your sister, it could be your brother, but everybody is not your tribe. And I think sometimes we try to take people who are not our tribe. And me personally, this is a new year of letting go, say goodbye, have a good day.
Do you understand me? This is the year that I am taking less SHIT. Do you
I'm,
understand
I'm
me?
a I'm
Listen,
gonna make you laugh. I went to Lindblom, and Lindblom, the our motto, we were eagles. And I
right.
had, you know, I love Joe Osteen, you know that personally. He did a sermon about how crows, they only stay at a certain level and they like to be messy. However, the
Yes.
eagle just rise above. It don't even discuss what's going on. It rise above and it moves to a new level. So I took that to mean I'm just gonna go to my eagle place, meaning that I'm
Me
not even
too.
gonna have a discussion.
Me neither. Me neither. This is the year I said that this was the year of all things epic. This was the year of all things great. And really, I'm not taking anything less. It's so funny that I thank God that I'm in a position where people are asking me to sit on various committees, sit on various boards. And you know what? I actually had to step back from a lot of that. I only choose to sit on boards and committees that I feel as if A, I'm being treated well, B, I feel as if the people you're handling, you are treating them well, and C, how much of my time are you draining from me? You know what I'm saying? So that's why I couldn't agree with you more. I'm in the same place in life as well as you are, you know?
I'm gonna say two things. No is a sentence. And then I'm also going to just say this. I think one of the greatest inventions and one of the most important things, discovery for mental health, is caller ID. I think that person should get a Nobel Peace Prize because I'm going to tell you, this year is the year of peace and ego. It's going to be so many caller ID moments. No, I
Right,
got 3 phones. So call
right,
ID. That's for mental
right.
health.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. Speaking of mental health, our third co-host is here with us this evening. He was here with us last week. He is a regular here on the show. Everybody else is raving about the Dr. Phil. Well, guess what? On this show, we have our own Dr. Phil. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Our good buddy, Dr. Philip Montgomery. He's here to join us in hot topics and the other discussions tonight. Hello, Doctor. How are you? And welcome back to the show.
I am well. How are you? How are you, Sharon? How are you?
How are you?
Good,
You
good.
know what? I told our small world, you know me. me and you came from the same MCO, so we just say that. So we have
Oh, but
so we come from the same strain.
oh my God.
Oh, really?
I was there
Mental health.
9 years.
Nice.
9 years. So yes.
God.
And let me just say that you wouldn't survive in the MCO world unless you were the top of the cream, because when you're corporate, you are the cream of the crop.
Oh my God. It's
That's a fact.
It's a challenge every day, but you just go in there and ball up your fists and hope you can do something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Dr. Phillip, welcome back to the show. Glad to have you back here this evening. Please introduce yourself, tell everybody about yourself, and then we're going to get back into these hot topics.
Okay. I'm Dr. Phillip Montgomery. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I work at an MCO during the day, but my real passion is working with males who are dealing with anxiety and anger and depression, and dealing with just community-based issues, trying to help them find a way to navigate into healthier spaces and work in our community and see what I can do to make things better, be part of the solution.
Wow. Well, we appreciate you being here. As I was telling everybody in the top of the show, tonight we're having a conversation about heart health. February is Heart Health Month. That's why we're wearing red this evening. Sharon's going to do us an amazing presentation on what you and your family need to know about taking care of your heart. But we also tonight are going to talk about losing a loved one, especially a mother. All three of us on this show tonight have lost our mothers. Sharon has wrote a wonderful book that deals with the loss of a loved one and how to deal with it. But I think we all three can have a very personal conversation about the trauma that losing a mother takes. I mean, don't get me wrong, losing any family member is really hard. But when you lose your mother, I think that makes it just really tough.
Absolutely.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially if you were like all three of us, if you had the type of mother that was your cheerleader, your number one fan, whatever you need, she provided. So it's a difference, because I do realize everyone do not have that story to tell. However, I know for a fact we had that story to tell.
Yeah.
So to say devastating is an understatement.
It is. It
Right.
is.
Yeah. Yes, it is. All right. Well, we'll talk about that later on in the show. I want to get back to hot topics. So we want to send a very special shout out to our girl from Cincinnati, Ohio, the one and only Miss Regina King. She has jumped back into the director's chair as she has signed on to take the helm of the first episode of Mara, Brock, Akil's highly acclaimed upcoming Netflix series Forever. And according to Variety magazine, the series and adaptation of Judy Blume's 1975 book of the same name will star Lovey Simone, remember her from Greenleaf, Manhunt, and Michael Cooper Jr. On the Come Up. I remember when he was in that one, if you guys remember that. This is described as an epic love story of two Black teens exploring romance, their identities through awkward journeys of each being their first. And this is set in Los Angeles in 2018. And so I kind of want to go back a little bit. I don't want to age either one of you, but I want to go back to your first love. Do you remember your first love?
I actually do. Yeah,
I do too.
Yeah.
And was it a good thing or was it a bad thing? Ladies first.
No. You know what? It's a good thing, and it's kind of a funny thing, because we kind of crossed paths, and it was just interesting. So I think I call myself a late bloomer.
Oh, you do? You consider yourself a late bloomer? Okay, all right, very good. Dr. Phillip, do you remember your first romantic love affair?
It wasn't a late bloomer. It was early, but like she said, you still cross paths. That's the part that's funny.
Yes, that's the funny part.
and the looks are different now. It's like, but it's you'll never forget. I tell you, it changes you forever, because you just don't realize you have all those feelings in you. And how you manage them. Oh, it's something else. Yep.
Okay, so moment of confession. All of
Oh Lord,
Oh yes.
we might need to call somebody.
Moment of confession. All of my first lovers from my current life now, and if you read between the lines, you'll get this. They're all dead.
Oh
Oh,
Lord,
wow.
Right. They're all dead. So yeah, so I don't, yeah, no, there's no, yeah, quite, yeah. Everybody's, yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Have I run into anybody recently that it was a fling? Yes, maybe. But as far as first loves and first relationships in my current life, they're all dead. So that's interesting. That's very interesting to me. What do we make of that, Dr. Phil? Does that mean I mean, I don't know. Is that an omen or something? I mean, help me.
let's just say time has passed. So everything, there's a season and it changes. So just look at it that way. But I don't think it's an omen. I just
Am
think
I that damn old, Sharon? I noticed you have not said one word, Sharon. What do you think?
What? You know what? I'm not afraid to say my age. I'm just not, because I feel like it's not your age as if you look it. So I'm 53. I'll be 54 this year. So I don't care if you know my age. As long as you don't.
Well, no, I don't. I don't think it's an age thing. I just think that all of my exes, just some reason or another, they dead. I mean, so I don't. That's interesting. I mean, there are people still around that I've dated and been involved in relationships, but the beginning realm of my dating, they're all dead. So that's just interesting.
I'll tell you, one of the guys, I told you I was a late bloomer. So one of the guys that I dated, that seriously dated in college when I was at Western, he ended up passing away.
Oh no.
I've only
Okay.
had one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Lynn Klein, she actually went to Luther South where I went to high school. And she's asking, did you have a first love at Luther South? I did. No, I did not. Because Lynn, you probably would have, because it was a boy-girl type of situation thing. But I always knew, what I was, even though back in high school, you suppressed that. And so, no, I didn't. Now, was there somebody from high school that I feel like we should have been connected to each other? Absolutely, I do. But no, there was no first love in high school. Not like that. All right. Well, let's move on. I sent you both a clip about Miss Monique on the Shay Shay show, where she finally had her turn to let it all out, pour all the tea, give all the dirt about what has happened. And I want to know, Sharon, as a woman and as a Black woman, what do you think about everything that Monique was saying in that interview?
I'm looking at it from a whole perspective. And if I just be honest with you, and I think I could relate too, because I understand I have a younger child and I have an older child, and I understand both perspective, meaning that you can have children, although you have done all that you can and poured into them, that some of them might feel a little tinge of entitlement. However, I will say this: I believe as a mother, I believe I will be a mother until the day I die. And because of that, that means I have responsibility. And although my child does not always do what I would like for them to do, and I might not, I'm going to always be a mother. So I kind of, in my opinion, I kind of felt like, after seeing her son's video, I kind of felt like it kind of rubbed a little bit the wrong way, because as a mother, although some things it's I want to protect, I'm a nurturer, and I want to
nurture. So just so we clear, you're going back to where her son made the statement about her not being the best mother, her son retaliating against her. Okay, because I was even going back to just her doing the show with Shay Shay, but okay, that makes sense. And as a mother, I get that, because I guess it happens, you know what I'm saying? And especially, we were in a time period where Black women were trying to make a name for themselves, whether it was in corporate America, whether it was a dope dealer, a singer, stripper, whatever it was, mama was trying to make a name for herself and doing what she thought was best for her and her child. So so I'm with you on the same page of that.
And when I would go one step further is that when you become a mother, I think that trumps all titles that you have. And so because of that, I'm going to be a mother until the day I die. And for that reason, because I'll give you a perfect example. My son had issues and he had issues with PTSD. And when I say I dealt with some uncomfortable situations, I dealt with some uncomfortable situations due to that PTSD with the, being cursed out and the manic episodes and different things like that. However, as his mother and understanding and definitely working in this field, I realized I still had to advocate. I still had to support, even when it hurt and even when it was uncomfortable. I'm still a mother.
Right, right. Dr. Phillip, I'm going to come to you because, what Sharon said resonates with so many of us that's watching this show tonight, especially any of us that came from a Black mother. And later on in the show, we're going to talk about when we lose our Black mothers. The dynamics between a Black mother and her son, or any mother and her son, is what type of dynamic, Dr. Phil?
Well, the dynamic, so I'm going to take a Black mother and son. It typically, in many homes, sometimes the son and the mother, that's the real relationship. There may not be a husband or a father or another gentleman in the house other than the son. And the mother is really working overtime to accomplish two different things. She's trying to raise this young man so that he can become a better person, of course, but also she's looking for a friend because there's nobody around consistently sometimes. I say there are times when that relationship is all about survival. Then there are times when that relationship is dysfunctional because, of course, sometimes the mother will lay too much information and too much responsibility on the feet of the son who's not ready to handle it. But I do agree with Sharon when she says, a healthy relationship, a mother is a mother from beginning to end. And everything should be about raising that flower. We're going to call that child her flower and making sure that the child grows up and blooms and can do all kinds of things. And I think there's a lot of women who have been torn between raising their children and trying to find an identity for themselves, because many of our women were lost. I mean, not lost in the sense that we can't find them, but they started out with children at a very young age. A lot of their dreams they had to defer. They may never have been able to get back to them. And then if they see an opportunity for themselves, they now have to make a choice. That's a hard choice to make. Judging that person, I can't do, but I can say that if I put myself in the mother's shoes, I'd have to choose being a mother or a parent from beginning to end. And I think I would have to choose to do what was best for my child, because now that's the person who I need to protect. My turn has to be a little bit different, a little bit later.
One of the pieces that I would add on to what Phillip has said is that, the other part that I would say this, I think as time goes on progressing, that we should get better. It's like refine, because my children are very spaced out. I have one that's 32, I have one that's 27, and then I have one that's 17. And I'll say this, as you get older, you learn from trial and error, because I am not, certainly I wasn't an expert when I first entered parenting. However, I will say this, that compassion that I have, because as I get to learn, I got better in time. I have grace, because that meant I wasn't the best mother in the beginning, because I didn't know what I knew as time went on, if that made any sense. So that's why I'm kind of surprised at the approach. I think that should have been off camera.
Yes.
Let's talk. And again, there's no way I would have put no receipts on my child. No. It's just, again, it's just for mental health and issues. To me, to shine a light on him is to shine a light on myself. So that's just ridiculous.
That's the part. That's the part I couldn't get, because putting the child on display basically turned the mirror right back on the mother. I don't know why she did that. Can't even figure that out.
Well, for those of you all that are just joining us, welcome to the Tuesday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. I am your host, Chat Daddy. Glad to be back with you guys on Tuesday evenings because it is the winter time. Even though this weather is amazing here in Chicago right now, I thought I would come back once a week, deliver to you some of the best information ever. Tonight, in honor of Black History Month, we're talking about heart health because February is Heart Health Month, and we want to make sure we let everybody know in your household the importance of taking care of your heart. And then later on in the show, we're going to talk about losing a parent, especially your mom. All three of us on the show tonight have lost our mothers. And our guest, Miss Sharon Rowe, who is an author, blogger, motivational speaker. She's here tonight not only to share heart health tips, but she's here tonight to talk about dealing with the grief of a mom. And then, as you guys all know, our resident mental health expert, Dr. Philip Montgomery, our Dr. Phil, the chocolate Dr. Phil on this show. He's here tonight to just kind of help us navigate our way through all of this because everything that we've been through as a people. And here's the deal. This is just not Black people experience. This is not just brown people experience. This is all people experience. And so we're going to talk about things that you can do tonight to kind of overcome some of the obstacles that you've been through. And glad to be here with you guys on such a beautiful evening. We have just really unbelievable weather here in Chicago right now. I'm sure you both will agree.
Yes.
Yes. Fantastic. Yeah. And we deserve a break.
Yes.
We deserve a what?
We deserve a break. We could use that because usually around this time we're in the tundra. And so
Yes, we are. I told somebody I measure how cold it is in Chicago on how many times I've worn my fur coat. I've only had it on twice this year. So we do. Right, only twice this year. Right. So we're doing really great. We are. All right. So let's continue on. So I want to go back a little bit with Monique. So when Monique sat down to do the interview on the Shay Shay Show, she doubled down on her claims that Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry had blackballed her from Hollywood. Now she's also taking aim at Tiffany Haddish for saying that Tiffany Haddish is half-baked and half. I got my thoughts on Tiffany Haddish anyway. You know what I'm saying? The Academy Award winner, Monique, who is 56 years old, during her explosive interview with Shannon Sharpe on his Club Shay Shay podcast, said that her feud with Winfrey and Perry dates back to 2009. And she previously claimed that her refusal, when they didn't promote the film Precious, is when this all kind of got out of whack, and she feels as if it didn't happen. Just a lot of crazy things have gone on, and Monique has always been one to kind of claim she's a victim. But then with me being in the business and have seen some things, I kind of agree with Monique on a few things. Okay. So Dr. Phil, how do we deal with the victim versus what is truth?
Well, the victim is the inner child that was never protected, and it's screaming out for help and attention and what it needs. We don't even know if a lot of the crying right now is just based on the Oprah Winfrey situation with Precious, or it's based on just things that have happened to her throughout her life in this business. I mean, we're all to that day, she's part of her past is always there. So I'm not quite so sure that's just the Oprah relationship that had her that frustrated. I think that's all of the other people she's worked with in Hollywood, where maybe she was not given the attention or given what she thought she needed. And then I think what Oprah, if Oprah did what she's saying, I think what happened was it was like the last straw and she just couldn't bear anymore. But Precious was one of those movies where I think if I had been in her shoes, I might have done it differently, because it was such a powerful piece that really speaks to a lot of things that African Americans have been through, that I have tried to process another way to monetize that with Oprah and Tyler and Lee Daniels. And I would have probably tried to go out to get the word out about how powerful this movie was and the voices that were finally being amplified that we hadn't been hearing from for most of our lives. Those girls that were Precious, those girls that were turned into Precious's mother, the people that came along and helped the various preciouses in the world. So I have a different opinion on a strategy for handling things, especially something as powerful as that movie.
I couldn't agree with you more. I want to go to you, Sharon. You being a woman who has had a career that has had its ups and downs. Sharon, you are my one friend. You know, I tell people I have a lot of powerful female friends. I have women that are bosses. I have women friends who, you know, that pendulum moves when you walk in a room. But you also, I'm sure, understand what Monique is going through with the, you know, being shaded and not giving your just due. Let's talk a little bit about your experience as a Black woman in the world and making things happen.
Well, one of the things that I can say and just say behind just the truth of the matter, I think as a Black woman, we already know that when you come to the room, and let's just say if you come corporate, you got to come twice as prepared. You have to be ready. I mean, really, we don't have the luxury of not being ready or not knowing. Um, we just have to be ready, and that's just a simple fact. So with that being said, it's just like, you know, unfortunately, like say before the pandemic happened, we lived the life of a pandemic. Before Trayvon Martin, we lived the life of, we are careful, meaning like we already know the routine, because we live a life where we don't have the luxury of not knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right, right. I couldn't
So
agree with you more.
So when I say that, like I'll speak to that. When I mean that, you know, I give a perfect example. When I work for corporate America and I work for a major MCO, I can think of the start date when I started on that. I can remember, like, you know, I got a semi-photographic memory. I can remember when I started, and on my team there were let's just put it like this. The the Black women in that room was some of the brightest, because when I worked for that MCO, they had the cream of the crop. When I tell you, working for nonprofit and when I went to corporate, I understood you must perform. If you ever work for an MCO, you're going to perform, and if you don't perform, you're going to be gone, and that's a guaranteed fact. So I work with some of the top of the game. So when I was on a team, I was on a team with doctors, PAs, RNs, and I had my master's in administration, and it just so happened I had so much experience that I was allowed. But I understood what it means to what performance based meant, because you was going to perform or you're going to be gone. And that's just the end of the story. But with that being said, I worked with some very talented Black women. However, I did see some disparity, because I saw some of my counterparts that were, let's say, the white and the other the other races. We would train, we would precept, we would do all these things, and we would train them to be our boss.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened time after time after time after time after time after time. Even like I'll say, I was a what you call a HSAT navigator. I was a preceptor. So I trained them and they became my boss. And that happened all day, every day.
And not much has changed.
And so let me say this. And when they talk about, they talk about social determinants of health and how equity and health equity, if they really believe in health equity, then ask for their numbers. See, when you talk about outcomes, if they really believed in health and they really believed in equity, then they would have equity on their workforce. And so, when I say that as the Black woman, and see, like after that pandemic happened, you find that the force that were going out there to work with our community, they had a lot of us working in the community. But who do you think managed that community? You had the Caucasians, and very few of us made it to management.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would train, but we would train them to be our boss. And so if you look at the numbers don't lie, especially in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I had a big issue with, because that meant you had to be the best. And so,
Right.
like I said, when I worked for there, and there's no way I could have been there 9 years if I didn't perform. Because
No.
if you didn't perform, you would have been gone. It's performance based. And so I every year exceeded expectation. But there are people still there on that team that started the same day I did, who didn't know anything. Like when I came on, I made the template because I came from the world of I came from DCFS. And with that, I understood performance-based contracting and you have to perform. So I knew about RFPs and I knew about you got to look at what you got to deliver. And so I was the highest deliverable, meaning that I knew what to do. And so they were like, wait a minute, what do you do? I'm like, hey, I worked on accreditations and different things like that. So I knew what to do. So they were like, wait a minute, whatever she do, follow her. Be a navigator. But I'm
Right.
telling you, they were
Okay.
my
All right, very good. Well, for those of you all that are just joining us, welcome to the Tuesday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. I am your host, Chat Daddy. Well, I can't talk now. Glad to be back with you guys for another Tuesday evening. It is Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. Excited to be here. Happy Black History Month. We also want to say Happy Heart Health Month. Tonight, joining me on the show is my good friend, Sharon Rowe. She is an author, blogger, motivational speaker, and a social worker. She cares about humans on every level, and that's why she's here with us tonight. We're going to talk about her book in just a little bit. Greatness is a Choice, Shifting, Reflection, Lessons, and Legacy, which we'll talk about later. And then also joining us is our good friend, Dr. Philip Montgomery, mental health expert who specializes in dealing with trauma in major urban areas. And so I just want to thank you both for being here tonight. Sharon, I want to get into our conversation about heart health. What made you start talking about heart health? And I'm going to give the floor to you and Dr. Phil and I'll listen.
Okay, so I'll tell you this. Like I said, I used to work for a major MCO, and that position, I was what we call a program lead, and also I worked at Cook County as a care coordinator. And so what I learned when I was in those positions was that they have something what we did is we tried to do what you call disease management, and we would actually go out and we would deal with our clients, and what we would try to do is help them with person-centered goals to help them address any ailments that they had. So very commonly, like some of the chronic illnesses that you find very common, you find COPD, you see hypertension, heart disease, diabetes. So what we would do, one of the ones that was really pressing to me was the heart illness, because as we'll get into that later, my mother passed from heart disease, hypertension, and sleep apnea.
Oh
So
my God.
so when that happened, I really felt bad because, like I told you, I was one of the preceptors. I was one of the navigators. So meaning that if I really felt like I failed, because if anybody should have known or should have had conversations, it's a lot of things that we don't approach because you know how like you don't want to offend and you don't want to say something. In hindsight, when I got that call that Saturday morning that my mother passed, I just thought to myself, I could have did something different. And so that became a passion, because she did die from heart disease and hypertension. I said, you know what? I can't change me, but I'm definitely going to be able to give them some tips that I definitely learned from Cook County and what I learned from when I was a care coordinator. And with this being Heart Health Month, I wanted to share some tips on when you're doing person-centered goals, what you can do, because it's definitely something you can do to turn this around.
Very good. All right. Well, Sharon, we're ready to hear your tips. What are the first 3 tips you want to share with us?
Okay, one of the first, I would say, schedule an annual appointment with your primary care physician. That's a start. And that's a very good start, because a lot of times people do not go to the doctor until it's too late. And
Yep.
either you will address your illness, or you'll either address your wellness or you'll definitely address your illness. So I believe going to make an annual appointment with your PCP is key.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. Currently, I got a lot of old man shit going on, and I need to go and I need to go see a doctor about a lot of my old man shit that I got going on right now. So
And
yes,
this is the thing I would say: do not, in hindsight, do not take no for an answer. If you love somebody, I'd rather them be angry than them to be gone. So, lovingly find that lovingly way to get them to go and see their PCP, their primary care physician, and let them
very
do their
good.
annual screenings. And
Okay, very good. So we want to remind you guys to schedule that doctor's appointment, go
Mhm.
get that blood work done, go get that checkup taken care of. All right, what's point number 2,
number
Sharon?
2 is ask about cholesterol testing 1 time per year if you're concerned about your heart. And then I would say number 3 is ask your doctor about ACE and ARB medications. These medications can be used to control blood pressure, treat
Mhm.
heart ailments, and prevent kidney failure. So
Mhm.
that's something you want to ask about when you talk to your PCP.
So how do you go about talking to your primary care physician about something like that? Do you just bring it up, or because they're not going to bring it up?
Well, let me say this. When you go, a lot of them don't realize that, but every time you go to your doctor, you don't realize they do what they call a HRA. And the HRA is a health risk assessment. They're going to ask you questions, and those questions is going to ask you questions about your family, about your history, about things going on. And based upon how you answer, it's person-centered. Based upon how you answer, that gives them clues on what area they should focus on.
Yeah.
So if you do that, like perfect example, if you say my grandmother had diabetes, my aunt had diabetes, then hey, it might be something you might want to look at. So then that's something you can focus in on. So I'm just giving you an example. When you answer that HRA, and that's what all of them, that's why when you go to the doctor and they give you those papers, what those papers are for, to ask you questions about. It's called a health risk assessment.
Very good. Dr. Phil, what do you want to say about that?
I agree with everything. I mean, you definitely have to start off with some sort of an annual calendar that has a well-being check for you at the beginning of it, for your physical health, and also check in with your mental health. If you've been not sleeping, feeling funny, feeling heart fluttering, talk to the doctor about all these things and see if not just your physical health needs to be attended to, but your mental health needs to be supported as well.
Very good. Sharon, what's your next point on here? I see you
Okay.
mentioned ask information on beta blockers and follow-up treatment after a heart attack. So what do you mean by that?
Okay, so those are things like I said, and since I worked in that field, they had something on when they have like what you call predictive modeling based on each disease, meaning like again, if you had diabetes or if you had COPD on that screen, I got to see and I got to learn in very detail. There's a strategy to everything.
Mhm.
So again, with heart health, these are strategies that when I would meet with my members to talk about, there's something you could do to address your illness. Because if you address it, this is one of the tools of what you can do. So if this happened, what can you do to be proactive? And what can you do for maintenance and moving forward? So
Yep.
that's the reason.
Okay, very good. All right. What's your next step you want to teach us about?
Okay, so you want to ask about ways to keep your heart and lung healthy, like avoiding smoking. So that's very key right there. Avoiding smoking because smoking is very, very detrimental. So that is definitely on the list when I looked at the predictive
Yeah,
modeling.
but
Smoke.
Sharon, I'm gonna have to play the devil's advocate here just a little bit. What
Mhm.
about people who end up getting lung cancer from secondhand smoke, or people who have never smoked before? So what is that situation about?
Well, it's the same principle. I mean, even if you didn't smoke, but say perfect example, you a 5-year-old kid, you never smoked, but your mother smoked. It's just like you smoke because you're living in a household where you're getting that secondhand smoke, which is just as bad. So the point of it is still you want to be in a smoke-free environment, because that damage is still going to happen. So we just, like I said, it's about educating so you can know what can you do so you can possibly extend your life.
Sure. I always said that if the doctors ever told me I had lung cancer, I'd blame it on my father from them long road trips down south
in the car.
He didn't want to crack the window in the car because it made too much noise.
Yep.
But see, this is the other thing that
Right.
makes us proactive. Now that we know better, we do better. If somebody come here, oh, you're gonna put that cigarette out. You are
Right.
not mess with my lungs. Hey, no, 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 no. And if you
Right.
even notice, when I worked at that MCO, because again, I've never smoked in life. My mother didn't smoke, my daddy didn't smoke. And so because of that, I was on what you call highly preferred. Because let me tell you this, look at your health insurance. If you smoke, your insurance is more.
Right.
Your risk, like I said, when I looked on that predictive modeling, your death rate increases.
It sure does. Yeah.
So, I mean, you can do it. But when I used to turn that computer around and say, look at this, this is you. This is your life. This is when this is going to happen. This is when your heart attack is going to happen. This is when, let me tell you, there's no secret. For every disease, they got a timeline for you. That's facts.
Yep. They've been gathering data, and now they can predict almost
predictive modeling.
Yeah, it's scary, but if you can be proactive, and especially in the world that we're talking about, where you could get the members to buy into being owners of their own lives and world, and you can get them to make one change. Sometimes a cigarette seems so hard for them at first, but when you, like she said, when you show them that little chart and it shows you, well, this is the age when we'll be saying, don't she look natural?
Let me tell you, that was my hot sauce. When I turn that computer around and they see when they're going to die and when this going to happen, Miss Rowe, what you say? What you say? That's when that's going to happen. Oh, yes. I'm going to give you, yeah. Let me give you a perfect example. I'm healthy. I'm just going to be honest. I'm healthy. And I'm going to be honest, 400 pounds. Okay. I'm going to be like, well, did you let go of the fried food? Let me tell you, that scale going to be honest with us. It's going to tell us the truth. And then we talk about
I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to do a little shameless plug at this point. If any of you all feel as if you about to go, I work at Golden Gate Funeral Home in Chicago. And if you think I'm fabulous, just imagine the type of service we could have for you. Okay. I just thought I'd put that little disclaimer out there that if you think it's time to go, or if Miss Rowe has shown you on the computer it's your time to go, give me a ring-a-ding-ding. I promise I'll give you and your family a great discount, and I give you and your family the best service you've ever had. So, okay, that was a good public announcement. That was really a good disclaimer. I know, wasn't it?
I would tell you, I would say this, it's very effective when it came from myself, and I believe Philip, because one of I'll say this with cultural competency and also being of color, because I also believe a lot of times people of color are a little bit distrustful, especially in healthcare. But when I come and I say, hey, I'm going to tell you the truth because you look like me. I want to make sure you get the best of care, but I'm going to tell you the truth. The truth is this, and this is, again, prevention is the best medicine. You want to, unfortunately, I'm going to tell you this with a lot, unfortunate with cancer, you know, the sad, hard truth is that a lot of times when people pass, because they do not come in and they haven't done screenings, and they come in when it's stage 4. If you come in when it's pre and stage 1, I would almost say 90%. It is curable and doable. But when people finally come in, they come in at stage 4. Would you disagree, Philip?
I agree completely. And I've had many members who will tell you they have felt this way or felt that way forever. And then you say, well, how come you didn't, you got the insurance. Why didn't you just make an appointment? Oh, well, I didn't think it was going to, and it's there, and then we look up and they're no longer with us, and you're closing their file because they have passed. So it is a very real thing. I had a guy that model that she's talking about. When I showed him where he was on the thing, We only had about 4.5 years to go. To go.
Let me tell you about one member that I had, and I worked in the specialty. My specialty team that they had me on. I worked on the HIV team. But I'll tell you this: I had a young man who was he actually was HIV positive, and he was actually on hospice. Let me tell you, he went from hospice to going to Vegas and going fishing because he became adherent to medication. And when I turned that screen around, he changed his life.
That's right. That's right.
Unbelievable. I want to thank both of you for all that you do. In closing, Sharon, as far as heart health and heart care, what do you want to tell people in your final thought about what to do?
Well, let me just run through this. It's only four more things, and I'll run through them really quickly.
Okay, go ahead.
You wanna discuss an exercise plan. You need to do 30 minutes, and I would say this best practice 30 minutes a day. But you need to do 30 minutes at least 3 times a week, and then you also need to discuss healthy food options. They have on the internet. My plate, my healthy plate. You know, you need to look at taking out processed foods. You need to look at reducing sugar. So that's just fat and less salt. And then you want to discuss why you shouldn't add salt to food. Figure out another way because salt will take you out of here. And then the other thing is discuss person-centered smart health goals. And smart health goals are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're realistic in time. And I'll just tell you really quickly. It's just like if somebody say, hey, I want to lose 100 pounds in 2 days. That's not smart. Yes, it is measurable, but is it achievable? Is it attainable? Is it realistic in time? So all goals need to follow that SMART goal system. So there you go.
I love it. I do. I really think it's important. It's valuable information. Dr. Phillip, what you think about what Sharon has shared? And then what do you want to add? Because here's what people don't understand. Physical health and mental health go hand in hand. And so, Dr. Phil, in closing, what do you want to say about the physical health and mental health piece?
I really think a lot of times what we think of as just being a bad day, we have to really look at how many days in a row we're having a quote unquote bad day. And you also have to look at your family members. If you have somebody in your family that's down all the time, you need to speak for them, and you need to say, hey, I'm suggesting that, you make an appointment to see your doctor. You've kind of been down for a while. Don't wait until it's too late. The same with physical health goes for behavioral health. Don't come in when the person has attempted something that they may or may not have been successful at. Get people to go, motivate them to look out for themselves. Ask them, invite them to be around for as long as they possibly can. In so many of us, especially in our community, now that there's a Medicaid MCO where people who may not have the most in resources can still get really good health care. There's no reason for them not to go to the doctor and check on themselves. There's no reason for them not to go see, hey, I've been having these panic attacks every time whatever happens. There's no reason for them not to talk to a therapist. No reason for them not to get some behavioral health medication. I just want to say, if the person's not looking out for themselves and you love them, you need to look out for them too.
Incredible. Really incredible.
I just wanted to add to what he just said. And again, that will go back to your doctor, because I'll tell you this, when you go to your doctor and they ask those questions, what we call it in medical terms, they'll ask you what they call the PHQ-9. When they ask you how many days have you been sad or this, that, and the other. Everything starts with your doctor. Go to your doctor because they can give you a behavioral health referral. And I just want people to know, last year alone, according to the CDC, 95,000 people committed suicide last year. And then 1 in 5 adults had mental health issues last year, and 1 in 6 youth. So like Philip said, we have to look at it as a whole, and that's why that's so important.
Wow. Incredible. I appreciate and love you both for that information. We want to encourage everyone who's watching tonight's show, whether you're watching us live or you're watching an encore performance of the show, to schedule that appointment with your doctor. Check on your heart, check on your health. It's the beginning of the new year. If you have insurance, it's easy to get insurance benefits now. Matter of fact, some of the free benefits are incredible compared to what they used to be. And then, you have your paid insurance plans, but do not hesitate. Go out, do what's necessary, and get your heart checked, get your entire family's heart checked. And we just want to live a great year. 2024 is going to be the year of all things epic. I have deemed it that, and I'm going to stand on that. That's all I can say about that. What do you both think about that?
Yes.
Agreement.
Yeah.
In agreement, touch and agree, my friends, touch and agree.
Oh,
All right,
wow.
well, touch and agree. Our last segment this evening is one that is very dear and close to all of us. Tonight, we're talking about dealing with the grief of losing a parent. But for the three of us, it was losing a mother. And as you guys all know, your mom is your first love. That is your first teacher, your first love, your first guidance counselor, you name it. Your mom has a very pivotal role in your life. And so Sharon has written a wonderful book that talks about overcoming adversity in your life. And so Sharon, I want you to share your story about your mom. And then, here's the beautiful part about this. Both Dr. Phil and I can chime in on losing mothers and how we as Black men have had to overcome the loss of a mother.
Oh, wait, you know what? We're just going back to where we just said the heart help, because again, I really did feel I failed her. And when I say that again, with me having the knowledge that I had and the experience that I had, I felt that I should have been more on top of it. And I think so when I wrote the book, it made me kind of internalize what could I do. So that made me think about my mother is gone, but let me think about what can I do as far as legacy. How can I move from grieving into celebrating, and then also how can I make a difference? Because again, I will say this, my life will forever be changed. However, I want to be able to celebrate her. And so part of making that my passion is talking, getting out there, giving people this information. When I put it in my book and I talk about person-centered goals, I put that my book is on Kindle and it's 99 cents or free. And it was because I want to make an impact in my community. I want to make sure people go out there and they have these hard conversations. I hope after this, people go out there and uh, they talk about their health. They talk about going to do these important screenings, that they also go out here and, make sure, do they have their power of attorney? Do they have, different things? Or do they have to go out there and make sure you do things so you can make sure your legacy is taken care of, your family is taken care of, and that you don't have to suffer like I do, because I will forever miss my mother. However, I celebrate her because I call her my skybox angel. And I believe there's so many blessings that have come my way is because she's in her skybox seat.
Yep.
Oh my God. Well, Dr. Phillip, you and I both lost our mothers in very sudden and tragic ways. We really didn't see it coming. How do you, not only as a mental health expert, because really when you lost your mom, you were in the early stages of everything, but just as a Black man, an only child, all of that, what was your experience like of losing your mother?
It was, you talk about that call that you don't ever expect to hear, but you're going to hear it. It was sudden. My mother was her last year working. She planned to retire. She was on a trip, and then I get a call that she has passed away. And like Sharon, there's some signs that I should have noticed, and maybe that was a trip she shouldn't have taken. I often feel, even to this day, like I let her down,
Yeah.
and I should have stopped her from going. But when I tell you it's been a journey because before she passed, this is not the career I had. I was in banking. After she passed, I could not figure out what to do with myself. I already had a degree in finance, an MBA. I was set, but my whole life was literally turned upside down because I couldn't go back to doing any of that. And I found myself trying to create, I guess we're going to call it a yellow brick road to get me back home. And I just started picking up things that used to mean something to her. I volunteered with kids. Now I sit on the board of an organization. I went around and volunteered at different churches. So now I work with older people in an MCO. So it's kind of one of these things where I was reinvented just to find a way to cope with the grief and the gravity of the grief. Because if I hadn't, I think it would have pulled me down as well, because there were many days that I didn't know how I was going to move forward.
Wow. Well, it's so amazing to hear both of you share your stories. I too have had a story that was just unbelievable when I lost my mother. My mother passed away in 1999. She passed away from circumstances to this very day that I still feel are questionable and fishy. It was an accident, much like what you both said. There were telltale signs that my mother was in trouble before her death. I still to this day carry a great amount of grief about what happened to my mother. And believe it or not, my family showed their ass in ways you just would not believe after my mother's death. And a lot of what she said prior to her death, it has come true with just people's behavior, how they handled certain situations and circumstances. And it caused a huge division in my family. And that's been, it'll be 24 years this year that my mother has been gone. And it's just unbelievable to say the least. How do we, Sharon, first of all, start moving forward from this type of grief?
Well, let me tell you, one of the things that was so key and instrumental with me with moving forward was, I'll tell you the story. The real quick story was that my mother passed 2 weeks before Mother's Day. And when she passed, I'll tell you, it was just a coincidence. I was in Walmart in Evergreen Park. And I went in the store and I was like, wow, all these balloons and flowers. You know how it is. I was like, oh, this is horrible, because it was just terrible, because I was like, wow, I'm really missing my mother. But I'll tell you, prayer changes everything. When I got in line, it was a young lady that got behind me, a senior. And she just looked like she was kind of troubled, struggling a little bit. But anyway, I had already made up in my mind, and I decided to ask her. I said, you know what? I said, I really want to celebrate my mother one last time. Would it be okay if I pay for your groceries? And she kind of looked surprised, and she said, okay. So make a long story short, when I got through, I asked her, I said, all I want to know is your name. And she said, she was like, my name is Dorothy Mae. My mother's name was Dorothy Mae. She said, you're so sweet. You just like my daughter, Sharon. And that just made my day. And that story went viral. So that was the reason why I ended up publishing the book, because when I made a post, it was during the pandemic, just to tell people, you know what, even in troublesome times, God still give us answers, and he also sends signs. And when I made that post, it was actually over 800,000 people viewed it. I got over, I think it was over 2,000 responses, and it was over I think it was over 400 and something for. So anyway, it just really, I really found peace in that. And it was so many people who had a mother named Dorothy Mae that I thought was really funny. I mean, so many. And they told me about stories. And then that was a point of learning how to move forward, pay it forward, have a legacy, and then know that they're okay. And now it's time for me to be in the role that so like what Philip said, now it became my purpose. My purpose is out there to make sure people are aware about heart health, about what you can do. And so to make sure somebody don't have an unnecessary seat at the table. Yep. So that became the purpose.
Well, I just want to say one thing before you say anything, Art. My mother's name was Dorothy Ellen. So, it's it's just it's a small world. And like you said, sometimes it's the simple things. My mother died 2 weeks before Christmas. And It was a family that I knew. I mean, you know people and they ask you to dinner and stuff like that, but typically you don't go. This one time they asked me, and I actually had to make a journey to go to their house, but it took me outside of myself and it allowed me to make it through Christmas, which was one of her favorite holidays, the first one anyway. So you have to accept those gifts that people can give you. Not everybody can do everything for you during that time, but if somebody offers you something that's helping or supporting, take it because you need it.
Well, that's so funny you would say that. I've had this conversation with my therapist many times that I hate anything now that is associated with holidays.
Hmm.
I try to make it a point now to just be totally oblivious. I do love them. Don't get me wrong. I'll decorate. Of course, I have parties, invite you guys over, have food, drink, all of that. But I hate anything that is of a tradition of a holiday. And my therapist and I was recently talking that I need to now break that tradition of
Mhm.
the cooking, the decorating, whatever, and find me something that would bring me greater peace than to
Right.
be bothered with holiday traditions. After 24 years, I'm finally having that breakthrough.
Good. Oh, good. Good.
Well, I have to say this about you, Art. You and Ebony have been so instrumental because I'll tell you this. When my mom passed, who was there, and then also on the birthday, you just didn't even know what that meant. I think sometimes, too, what's important to us that I will never forget you bringing you too at front and center. That's that because to know what my mother meant to me, and then again, like I said, on her birthday, you didn't realize when you did that chili thing, that was on her birthday.
Mm.
It's just like, so again, I want to be able to bring that type of comfort and peace and move forward because I do believe so many things are happening and it's my time. We all have a circle, we all have a time and an expiration. So I want to be in my purpose. I want to be instrumental. And my mother definitely, she left her legacy and I believe she fulfilled her purpose. So I want to be able to do mine. And so now this is my purpose and my why. And it's a good thing to know what your purpose and why is.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people find it so strange to see me working in the funeral business, but I tell people the reason why I work in the funeral business is not about me. It's about Art Sims. I want to help people who are grieving. When I was going through my grief process, I did not get the support I needed. I did not get the words and thoughts that I thought I would get. I didn't even have family to give me what I thought I was going to get after losing my mother and how much questions there were around how my mother died. That the reason why I work in the funeral business is funny. I asked a lot of different funeral directors, could I come work for them? And they all gave me the crazy side eye until one director decided to say, yes, I would. And I told him, I said, listen, I'm not here about Chat Daddy. I'm here about Art Sims and God. I'm here to help people get through a grieving process that I never got a chance to get through. And I want to help people to express themselves, get whatever anger, fear, whatever it is out of them. And that's why I feel it's truly my mission and my calling. So it's not about the celebrity being at the funeral. It's about me wanting to help people during their most difficult times.
Well, you know what, Art, my cousin Maya, she's also a funeral director. And you
Right.
know what, one of the things I think that's so key is because I think a lot of times people have arrested development. I think they sometimes hoard. I think at that point is when I think it should be a transition of care where you get introduced to the grief process because there's 5 different stages of grief. And
Okay.
I think that would be a key place because I think death, if you don't know depression or anxiety,
Mm.
I believe that's where you get your introduction. Because when you
Baby.
sit on that front row, there are many things that you envy, but the front row is not it. And when
Nothing.
you
That's
get
right.
it, that is an introduction that is like no other. And
That's
so
right.
I believe at that place, that's where you need that transition to let people know, because I think that's when you go through some of your darkest hours, because most places give you 3 days to grieve, but your life is never the same. I think my life will never be the same. I know how to cope and I know how to deal with it and move forward. But your life is not the same.
Right. You know, that's so interesting that you would say that, because the times that I do drive to the cemetery, you know, drive in the hearse, I always say to the decedent that, listen, Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so, I just want to let you know your family sent you off in grand style. You know, they sang, they danced, you know, whatever it was, you know, just even the blessing of knowing that I'm the person taking this person on their final ride, or, you know, whatever the case may be. I feel that God put me in that position to be that person. And this is not something, I mean, being in the funeral business is not about fame. It's about the glory of God and you know, all of that. And so, yeah, it means a lot to me to be able to help people in that final moment.
But let me say what's so key about that. I know for me, you know how like we can all remember what happened on September 11th.
Right.
I have PTSD, and I can remember when my mother passed. I can remember everybody who came and everybody who didn't.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's key to me. That's life changing right there. Whoever did that, it's like I got a picture of who was there and who was not, and that changed everything for me.
Well, I'm gonna tell you the funniest thing, and I'm gonna come to you, Dr. Phillip. I remember everybody who did the right things and everybody who showed their ass. You get what I'm saying? Right. And to this day, everybody who showed their ass continued to be difficult people from that day forward. And quite a few of those people have died and gone on, or had to humble themselves, come back and apologize, all of that. But I remember people, I was a flight attendant at the time, and a lot of my fellow flight attendants, they came and served as ushers. They came and served food. So I'll never forget that. It was family. Folks I had been knowing forever, a friend of mine who he showed his ass at the funeral. Just you name it. I don't know. I just thank God I'm allowed to live.
Let me tell you this. My mother was Church of God in Christ. That's sanctified. So you already know that was a long service. And I'm telling you, like PTSD, I remember I worked all the way out in Westmont. When I tell you all of my that MCO, and when I tell you all of my colleagues came in, and it forever changed me, because you know what it gave for me? It let them know that they care. And when I tell you, you know, we believed in home going, and we had a home going. And let me tell you, I believe Saturday is prime time. When somebody give you their Saturday morning, they love you. So I felt very endeared. My mother, I gave her a wonderful send off. But like I said, I can see them people like yesterday, and that changed everything. So Art and you and Ebony, there's nothing you can't. I'm just saying.
I love you. I love you. I do. Dr. Phillip, what do you want to say before we get out of here for the evening?
I just have to add a little bit to it. And that's, I can remember when my mother passed, I remember my cousin Rosalind jumped into the breach. When I tell you, I didn't know whether I was coming or going. And to this day, she can ask me to do anything. Sometimes I don't even ask her, what is she doing it for? I just follow and start doing it. And I think about my mother, where she worked. My mother was assistant principal at Lane Tech. And when she passed, all I can remember, because of course there were so many white people, all I can remember is all of the people coming from the school, asking me what did I need, calling me, coming by, talking to me on the phone after. The ones that told me they would call me 3 months after because somebody should check in, and they did. So I'm just saying that, you know, you never know who's going to be there to support you. But that's why I say whatever they can give you when you're going through something like that, take a little bit from him, a little bit from her, and you'll make it. You don't feel like it in the beginning, but you will.
And I have to say two more to Michelle Wharton, and I have to say John Williams. Those were my besties from way, way, way back. When I tell you, the moment they heard flew in for Texas, John, and Michelle was right there. Michelle Wharton. I don't care where in the world. Michelle Wharton, I'm coming.
I love Michelle Wharton. I love
Michelle Wharton.
Every time they take pictures, I love Michelle Wharton. Michelle Wharton mama be on it, baby. She be posing.
Yes.
Something ever happened to Michelle
Wait,
Wharton's
let
mama,
me tell you,
I'd be there
Michelle
with you.
Wharton,
I'd be there with
mama.
you. Huh?
Let me tell you, Michelle Wharton, her mama can sing. And let me tell you, remember that movie, We're Out There or whatever? That's
Right.
her granddaddy made the score, sung that, and won a Grammy for that.
Oh, you kidding me? No, every time I see a picture of I've only met Michelle's mom once or twice, but every time I see pictures of Michelle's mother, she be giving that pose, baby. She know. I said somebody taught her a long time ago, baby, give that superstar pose. She do.
You should hear her sing. She sang at my wedding. You should hear Michelle Wharton mama sing.
Really? All right.
Yes.
But we have to make that happen because
Yes.
here's the deal.
She's a Trinity star, and she's recorded. Trinity star. You hear her sing.
You're kidding me. We want to extend our condolences to our fan, Miss Tamlin Williams. She lost her mother just recently, 2/2/24. Tamlin, we just want to tell you we love you. God bless you. We so sorry to hear that. We really do. Our best to you, and we sending hugs and loves to you. And then our brother from another mother, the one and only Mr. Lloyd, he's here on the screen with us tonight. Oh, wait, let me put him back up there. Hey, Lloyd, we really do love you as well.
That's my big brother.
That's my big brother as well, too. That's so funny.
Hey,
and we got to talk about friendship one night and how people connect people. And I wouldn't trade Lloyd for nothing in the world at this point. And then for Philip, they had knew Lloyd before, and then you knew. Yeah, this is all just amazing.
Me and him went to high school together and college.
Well, you probably went to high school with my cousin Rosalind, because Rosalind and Lloyd are cousins.
Oh, we're Eagles.
Yeah, it's a small world, I'll tell you.
Right. It's just small world, but I'm so glad you have put him in my life. It's not even because I don't have a brother like that.
Wait, let me tell you this. He put himself in there because that day I said, I'm going to Art's house. He was like, oh, that sounds like fun. Tell him I'm coming.
Well, and he ain't left since. He has not left since. And I just love and adore him. I appreciate him being in my life because I don't have a brother. And the funniest thing is I always tell people I probably would have been such a much more balanced person having a brother and a sister. But you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I knew I was mixed up. And
he could be another health topic because that's one marathon runner that he's very into health.
Oh, I know he is. I know he is. Yes, he's an amazing athlete. He really is. Well, Philip, in closing tonight, what do you want to say to everybody before we get out of here? And then we'll let Sharon close us out.
I really just want to say, take care of yourself. Yes, first, just like on the plane, pull that mask down, take care of your physical health and your mental health. But after you're good, make sure you look out for all of those around you who mean something to you.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely. Very good. And Dr. Philip, you're located here in the Chicagoland area, correct?
I'm located here in Chicago. You can find me on LinkedIn. Send me a note. I'll respond to it.
All right. Very good. And the amazing one and only Miss Sharon Rowe. Sharon, I'm going to put your book up here again. Give everybody the lowdown, rundown, all of that good stuff.
Okay, well, I just say again, my book, Greatness is a Choice. You can get on there. It has a lot of health tips, person-centered goals, and how you do a SWOT analysis where you talk about your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's 99 cents or free if you download the Kindle app. Because again, it wasn't about the money. I wanted to make sure people knew how to do person-centered goals, how to do SMART goals, and how to address their health. And that's my gift as to my mother, to make sure that legacy that we know how to take care of our health. And then again, I have a podcast coming out that's called Speak Life. So again, you'll be seeing me real soon.
Good.
All right. All right. Very
good. Amazon.
Huh?
It's on Amazon, Sharon Rowe.
Very good. Very good. All right. I did want to take a few moments to acknowledge the passing of an icon and a legend who we actually had him here as a guest on the show during the pandemic. The legendary Mr. Carl Weathers died a couple of weeks ago, and I meant to show this on the show. Oh, we lose Sharon? Hold on. Let me show this. We must be having Wi-Fi issues. Wait, we done been on the internet too long. Are we there? Did I lose everybody? Hello?
We're here.
Uh-oh. Hello.
You're
Philip, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, Sharon must be having some internet issues. Did this
I'm
picture
here.
pop up yet?
His picture popped up.
Okay, good. So we just oh, all right.
All right.
Okay, all right, very
All
good. Okay,
right.
thank
All right.
all right, we back. Okay, what happened? Did we lose Sharon? You there? Uh-oh, did I lose everybody? Are you still there, Philip? I wonder what happened with the Wi-Fi tonight. That's crazy. All right. Well, with that being said, oh wait, let me add Philip back. Okay, I
There
think we
we
must
go.
have lost Sharon. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Well, thank you guys so very much for tuning in tonight. I don't know what happened with the technical difficulties. We appreciate you guys so very much. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. We're going to talk about romance next week. Romance. So make sure you guys tune in for that show. Philip, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And have a wonderful evening.
You as well. Thank you.
They saying that I was frozen. Oh boy. Okay. Thank you, Katrina. We appreciate you. We really do. Thank you. Thank you. We love you, Katrina. Okay. Well, we out, you guys. We'll talk to you later. We'll see you next week. Philip, have a wonderful night. We'll talk
You
soon,
too.
right?
All right. Good night.
Okay, you think so? You sure? Good night. Bye.